So Mono Mills was a domestic fuel oil loss in a rural area. Fuel oil leaked in the basement, down under the basement, across underneath the driveway and down into a low marshy area on the other side of the driveway. Near that location, the swampy area, was a shallow bored well, which the residents drew their drinking water. So we were called in to deal with this loss, this spill. We did the initial mitigation to minimize additional spread of fuel oil. To save time, we also did the initial assessment. So that would have included excavation of some shallow test pits within the basement so we could readily view what was going on, drilling of boreholes outside of the house as well as down in the swampy area. And the initial assessment also included cameraing of a pipe in which some of the oil had escaped under the road or under the driveway. So we did use in-hole camera to determine what type of piping there was and where there were cracks or potential other leak points out of that pipe. The containment part, we got the pump and treat unit set up, and so we were containing or preventing the impacted water in the swampy location from migrating to the nearby shallow well, as well as removing the most heavily impacted soil right below the slab, which tends to be a source of ongoing leaching of impacts farther down gradient. So we developed a remedial plan which involved the excavation of the driveway, at the same time excavation of the shallow soils within the basement that were not impinging on the support of the structural elements of the building. With the excavation still open on the driveway side, there was injection of chemical oxidants underneath the structural elements to address the impacts there without having to excavate or remove or support any of the structure. And again, this is an older house, so it would have been very disruptive, very costly, and it would have had a higher risk of issues with the structure. Once we'd contained the loss and we had the groundwater pump and treat unit promoting some cleanup along with limiting the migration of impacts within the groundwater, so we've got this volume of soil that we have to remove. We're going to have to stage that because it is on a slope. We are going to have to excavate in the basement, so there's going to be some staging involved. And then the follow-up, the next stage of that is once we've got the excavation open, we've removed the readily accessible soil, then we want to inject these oxidants, and so there was a planning on how we would do that, how we would monitor to see that in fact it was being effective, and then the final stage would be in reinstatement by backfilling the soils, which again would be staged, and then repouring the slab and returning the ground to its pre-existing condition. So confirmation was achieved in three ways. We would collect the necessary samples, soil samples, groundwater samples, surface water samples, and then prepare the final remediation report documenting how the process was planned, how it was implemented, and here's the verification sampling to prove that it's been restored to pre-existing conditions. We have a lot of experience in doing this. We are very customer focused. So it's not about doing it the cheapest way. It isn't about necessarily doing it the fastest way, but you do have to respond immediately. We know how to handle the regulators depending on what province it's in. And we've got a narrow band of customers. If we don't keep them happy, we're not going to be in business long. Customer benefit was, first of all, we achieved the cleanup, which is the objective, but we did it in a very cost-effective manner. So quick remediation, cost-effective remediation, and minimal disruption to the client.